Welcome to the future of robotics. Let them help you. Chores around the house? There isn't anything they can't do.
The next marvelous advancement in robotics is artificial intelligence. By studying the human brain, we have given independent thought and life to robots, allowing them to join the American workforce almost like real people.
Now, a new technology is bridging the gap between humans and AI, making us closer than ever. By scanning your own facial features, we can give them to a fully robotic body, making them more human than human. With a simulant, the future's never looked better.
AI is integrated into all parts of our day-to-day life. They cook our meals. They drive our cars. They are our civil servants, keeping the peace. And with the new state-of-the-art defense system, they even...
What is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain.
Have you ever been in an institution? Cells.
Cells.
Do they keep you in a cell? Cells.
Cells.
When you're not performing your duties, do they keep you in a little box? Cells.
This causes it. This causes it. This causes it. Information overload. All the electronics around you poisoning the airwaves.
You are listening to the High Tech Low Life podcast, a cyberpunk media retrospective. High Tech Low Life contains language and themes not suitable for all audiences, as well as spoilers for the content being covered. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome back to the High Tech Low Life podcast, your personal podcast for cyberpunk stuff. I'm your host, Eric.
We're also your personal Jesus. I'm your host, Josh. Do 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 do.
Yeah, I was about to give you a little finger snap along with it. That's not our best intro. I kind of lost it midway through, but I guess we'll just roll with it. What are we gonna do? Retake it?
Yeah, I don't know. That doesn't seem like us, man.
I know. We are here this week reviewing, recapping the creator.
Oh shit! I think I fucked this up. I've been taking creatine all week.
Well, you know what? You're gonna have other benefits, hopefully.
I am feeling bulked, so I guess that's cyberpunk, biopunk.
Yeah, we're here reviewing creatine. That'll be interesting. Directed by Gareth Edwards, starring John David Washington, Madeline Yuna Voiles, and Gemma Chan.
And Ken Watanabe.
I did that all from memory.
Nice.
It's not true. And we will get to that in just a moment. I'm sure you're waiting with bated breath. But first, we talk about a little bit. We ease into it here at High Tech Low Life. How would you like to ease today? Would you like to talk about the hot news about involving 1,000 bottles of baby oil, or
oh god,
or something a little more dystopian?
I don't honestly. The way this past week has gone, it honestly over the course of the past 10 years, we've reached this accelerating cycle of insane news where every week seems more insane than the one before it.
It sure does.
And this week was really a peak in just what the fuck is going on. New York Times journalist, fucking RFK, Mr. Brainworms, RFK Jr. He's getting investigated for chopping the head off a whale. Fucking Diddy arrested for fucking sexual abuse with 1,000 bottles of baby oil in his mansion.
The whole thing is just fucking gross, and we've all been joking and laughing, but it's fucking really weird and gross. And
Yeah, it's also, I don't know, it's
It's peak 2024.
yeah, and it's kind of what do you expect?
What Corey Feldman told us was happening.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, as much as that sounds like a joke, it's not.
no, he did.
I mean,
he did warn us, even though he seems kind of a lunatic in all other regards.
and that's the type of thing that might make you a lunatic.
It truly is.
Yeah, so that's
Bad times in Hollywood. Is there any other like actual dystopian? Oh fuck! I just thought of something incredibly right up our alley.
okay.
Not to interrupt you, but it aggressively came into my head. The way people's phones aggressively exploded.
That's definitely in our wheelhouse. Again, that was a week ago, so how could we possibly remember it?
True. I didn't actually look into the details of it, so I'm not. Maybe we aren't like the best to talk about it. But do you have any more info? All I know is,
Okay, it's a little complicated, and some of the stuff is some of the facts, as I am aware of them, are a little disputed right now. Like people aren't quite sure which way things went, but so a week ago now, a whole shitload of pagers, and then in the second wave, a bunch of walkie-talkies blew up in Gaza and Lebanon. It turns out that although Israel has not officially claimed that they were responsible, or at least that I've seen, when asked about it, the Israeli authorities were like, "Well, I mean, they were terrorists. What do you expect? They're gonna."
they put their finger up to the dimple in their chin and said, "Who, us?"
Yeah. So, it appears that at some point over the course of the last probably, I think, 9 months, Hezbollah and a bunch of other organizations started to suspect that their communications were compromised in the Middle East, which not a huge shock. So they rolled out a new plan. Basically, they're trying to operate on the principles espoused in The Wire.
Yeah.
They went from normal smartphones to burners and pagers.
Wire really did make the concept of the burner like mainstream.
Oh yeah, it's hugely mainstreamed it.
Yeah.
So then, possibly before this, possibly this was a prepared plan, and that their communications were compromised was leaked by Israel. Israel bought a Hungarian company that inserted explosives into a bunch of pagers and walkie-talkies and stuff with basically a remote trigger. These were distributed to, people who needed a pager. Like, who still uses pagers, Eric?
Nurses and doctors?
Yeah, medical professionals.
Yeah, that's unfortunately. I was hoping you'd say no when I said that.
Yeah, it's yeah. So last week, out of nowhere, a whole shitload of pagers, and then the next day, walkie-talkies and some other telecommunications equipment blew up and started maiming and killing people, including, kids. It's a bad time.
Now, I don't want to take you down here, but I just Googled pager explosion, and I see here a report from the Times of Israel. Hezbollah pagers were detonated individually. Attackers knew who and what where they were detonating. So,
okay.
If you can't believe the Times of Israel,
Yeah.
who can you believe?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fucked up, weird, very cyberpunk, and
Well,
not a fan.
It also because initially there weren't any reports beyond holy shit, however many pagers exploded. There weren't reports about any explosives in them, and
So they thought it was just like that Samsung phone that blew up,
yeah,
like
but
just a bad batch.
not necessarily. There was initial speculation on, wait, I guess you could do that if you overcharge a fucking standard goddamn lithium ion battery, like
That's
in
true.
any cell phone. I mean, you could make it go off like a bomb. So that makes me nervous.
Yeah.
That's not an idea that I wanted to enter my brain. So FYI, if there are back doors into your electronics, and there almost certainly are,
Yeah.
they could, somebody could make you blow up. So
Every day,
cool times.
I'm becoming more and more of a believer in the dead internet theory. The idea that eventually the internet is going to be devoid of real people. It's just going to be bots talking to each other.
Yeah.
And algorithms forcing bots to talk to other bots via algorithms, because it'll just become useless and or horrifying. And we're all just going to leave it.
Yep. Yeah. It's yeah, that was definitely our most cyberpunk news of the week.
Yeah, the year maybe.
Yeah. Oh, also, Ukraine rolled out a fucking wheeled drone with a giant fucking machine gun on it that apparently saw great success.
We haven't talked a lot about the Ukraine war in a while, but the drone stuff they're doing is like it's terrifying for the future of warfare, and like as fucking Shadowrun as anything that's ever happened in the modern world.
They're really speedrunning the development of Skynet in that direction.
Oh boy, I missed good old fashioned dystopia talks.
Yeah.
It really gets me hyped.
Yeah.
For the rest of the show. All right.
And none of that has anything to do with the movie we watched, right?
Oh, not whatsoever. Let's do a quick recommendo session. I don't have any recommendos, but I've got some. I'm coining the phrase secondamendos.
Ooh, okay.
Oh, wait, no, that sounds like it involves guns.
Yeah.
I watched. You've already recommended them on other episodes, but I watched Bad Monkey and I've caught up to it, and I'm quite enjoying it. Made me like wonder, why did I stop reading Carl Hyacin?
Yep.
And I also realized the reason you don't remember recommending him to me is because you didn't. My wife actually did, and she was a big fan of his books.
Yeah, I had that exact thought when I was watching the show. Like, why did I stop reading these? And I think I tracked it down, and I think he went on like a 2-year tear where he was writing like a bunch of YA novels and stuff.
Okay,
so it just sort of I slipped out of the rhythm of like, oh, every fall a new Carl Hyacin book comes out.
Yeah,
and yeah,
I remember reading like 3 or 4 back in the day, and then but. Anyway, Bad Monkey's very funny, and it's kind of like it's like a type of show that isn't really made anymore. It's like an old fashioned show. It feels like.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I don't know. I don't know exactly how to elaborate on that, but yeah, kind of it does. It's not a fancy prestige series.
Yeah. I'm also a big fan of Rob Delaney. I don't know.
Delaney is very funny on it.
He's great, and I've never seen him in anything I don't enjoy him in. So shout out to Delaney. And also, he's got good taste in music. If you follow him on Twitter, he drops some playlists once in a while.
Yeah.
And then I also yesterday ended up watching Jackpot, which you recommended a few weeks back. The Aquafina and John Cena. Which, you're right, I feel like we should cover on this show, even though it's not technically cyberpunk. It's so dystopian, I feel like.
Yeah, it's very cyberpunk adjacent.
Yeah. And it was pretty good. It had some good laughs for sure.
Yeah, it's got some, it's relatively slight, but
Yeah. John Cena is charming. Aquafina is pretty funny.
Yeah.
That's it for me, though.
She is very divisive.
Yeah, I know. A lot of people. I get it. I get the reasons why. I've just decided not to jump on that wagon until, it gets worse.
Yeah, I mean, I am on Aquafina's wavelength. Other people are not. I have learned just like, okay, that's a thing. Some people are never going to get into it.
Yeah, and you know what? Fine. We have different experiences in the world that color how we receive the things that people do.
That is absolutely correct. I do not have a ton of recommendos this week.
Good.
Just kind of busy. What I will recommend is something that we'll never watch on this podcast. It doesn't make sense in any aspect.
Well, neither does The Crow, but yet you insist.
This makes much less sense. I was like, what do I want to watch? And just opened up Amazon Prime. And what did I see served to me right out the gate? CB4.
Yeah, you're right. That's not cyberpunk, but it is awesome.
So strong recommendo for the gangsta rap satire 1993,
something like that. Yeah,
starring Chris Rock, directed by Tamra Davis. It is very funny to this day. And I remembered a lot of it just creepily.
Well, we watched it many times. It was a short run. It was like 2 months, but it was on. We watched it like 10 times in that 2 months.
Probably. I know all of the songs by heart.
Yeah, I had them all on MP3, downloaded off of Napster or LimeWire, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that movie is something special.
Oh, and I also want to recommend a new series that's on. I think it's only running another week or two because it's a show called How to Die Alone. It's on Hulu. It is part of Hulu's and I don't even know how to say this, Onyx Collective. Like I don't know kind of how to, like, on the one hand, I've watched several shows produced by Hulu's Onyx Collective. This show called Unprisoned several months ago. Can't remember what else, but it's basically Hulu getting a bunch of black creatives together and saying, "Here, have some money."
Okay.
So on the one hand, I like it that this program, the Onyx Collective, exists. On the other hand, I hate the fact that we are at a time where it kind of has to be forced like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, How to Die Alone is a really good show. It's stars and created by and largely written by Natasha Rothwell, who was a writer on Saturday Night Live. And she plays a woman in New York who works at JFK, driving the little electric carts around with, people who are on crutches or whatever.
Yes, those people. Well, those carts often scare the shit out of me.
Yeah,
they seem like murder wagons,
and they are deathly silent.
It's like they're making their own clientele.
Yeah.
We're going to maim you if you don't get the fuck out of our way.
Yeah, it is, and she is, I don't know, this show might not work for everybody. It definitely works for me because I'm, really depressed, and things are bad, and I think the world is bad, but I try to, keep my shit together and still have a good laugh.
Yeah.
But
that might work for a lot of people.
Yeah. So I highly recommend it. It's about her just life. And in the first 10 minutes of the first episode, she is alone on her birthday, goes to have a quiet night at home, eating a bunch of Chinese food and putting together some IKEA furniture.
That sounds delightful.
Yeah, I know. She gets the IKEA furniture assembled, and it falls on her and she dies for 3 minutes.
Oh shit, that does not sound delightful.
So she goes into the hospital, having just had a near-death experience, or a death experience. And the rest of the show, at least to this point, is her trying to do better and live more life. I don't know, one of the central conceits is that although she lives in this airport or works at this airport and drives people to all these flights, she herself is afraid to fly.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, it's a good show. I think 6 episodes are out right now, and I think there are going to be 10, and they release like 2 a week.
okay.
But it's definitely worth a watch. And if you got the Hulus,
I do not have the Hulus, but I've got other options.
Or if you've got a tall ship,
a tall ship with a sturdy mast.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So on the topic of recommendos, real quick before we move on, I thought I had an idea. As I was laying in bed the other day, I'm like, Josh wants to watch The Crow, and he insists that we will watch The Crow, and I have no say in it, which is fair. Maybe we should each get a free non-cyberpunk movie we just force on the other fucking person.
Oh, that's not a bad idea. I'd be fine
just
with
drop
that.
it randomly whenever we want.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Yeah, just kind of a rando pick.
Yeah. And then, it'll come out of nowhere.
Okay, let's put that on the schedule. That we're not going to put it on our schedule.
Yeah, we'll schedule that with a question mark next to it.
Maybe The Crow will drop on Devil's Night.
Ooh, it's coming up.
It is.
All right. Speaking of devils, these two devils need to review The Creator.
Yes, these white devils need to review The Creator.
I am going to say out of the box that All Banger Autumn does not continue. I did not actually care for The Creator very much.
Oh, I get it. Like, that's fair. I think this does continue All Banger Autumn because if nothing, like, this movie has compelling enough visuals that if you just put it on in the background of, say, a party, kind of a Burst City type thing, although with substantially less sexual assault. Like, this is a compelling looking ass movie.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. I agree that it's gorgeous, but that aside, it wasn't super. I felt like it was trying to be too big of a thing, and the people making it didn't, other than maybe like the CGI artists, didn't have the talent or maybe time or money or who knows. They didn't have the ability to make what they were trying to make.
Well, what if I told you that the original cut of this movie was 5 hours long?
That would not surprise me. It seemed like a TV show. Like, it seemed like it needed to be a prestige TV show. I think I might have bought in if it was.
They did this wrong. I think is,
that's going to be the through line through this.
This movie is a beautiful collection of, wait, what?
I do not have a single complaint about performances. Or like I said, the anime. Well, okay, I do have one complaint about one performance I did not like at all, actually.
Ooh.
We'll get to it when we get to it.
Okay.
But
the bomb robot. You hated the bomb robot's performance.
I hated that bomb robot. No, actually, I loved it. I wanted to take one home with me.
I know, me too.
But no, it needed to be a TV show. It felt like a TV show. It didn't. Something about it didn't feel like a blockbuster movie, even though it had this incredible CGI. It felt like a really rushed TV show. And I don't know. I think I would have loved it if it had been, and they'd stretched it out and I could take a break in between. And I also I hate war movies, and this is 100% a war movie, even if it's a future war. It felt like they were trying to make a Vietnam movie. I don't really like Vietnam movies. I got a lot of complaints that I guess will probably unfold as we go.
Yeah. I think it is. This isn't a movie where I think anybody would be able to watch it and go, no, you're wrong, having complaints, because this movie is a misfire.
It is.
It is fucking bomb-ass looking and has some neat ideas that it stole from other things, very blatantly. And it really doesn't work as a movie.
No, it does. Yeah. You know what I kept thinking of as I was watching it? The whole conceit of the film is like standard cyberpunk shit. What is it to be alive? Artificial intelligence, are their experiences as valuable as human? And I just kept comparing it to Blade Runner, which I know isn't a fair comparison. It's one of the best movies of all time, but Blade Runner is such a simple story about a cop trying to hunt down 5 bad guys, and then as he does it, coming to grips with his own humanity and their humanity. It's so simple. And then this, so complex to try to attempt to tell the same story, like multiple wars, fucking going into space, the people and babies and romances, and it was just too much.
It was. And I think this movie contrasts beautifully with, okay, so what was it, 2 weeks ago we watched Terminator?
Yeah.
Okay, and something we mentioned during that episode that we said we'd get back to once we did Terminator 2 is, okay, in that movie, the original Terminator script, there were a bunch of scenes and stuff where they go, they being Kyle and Sarah Connor, they go and blow up the Cyberdyne Systems building. And there's some philosophical arguments about how, we're not trying to prevent a future. We're trying to say, so on and so forth, because we've almost got the machines beat, blah, blah, blah. But when they came to shoot the movie, like when it got down to movie shooting time, it was determined that, like, no, this just complicates things needlessly. This will work. It's going to add a bunch of runtime and a bunch of money to the budget. We can do a lot better if we just cut that shit out. And then 8 years later, James Cameron was like, hey, those scenes about blowing up Cyberdyne? Let's do that.
You could do a whole movie on that.
And then they turned it into a whole movie. So that movie is a perfect and classic version of addition by subtraction.
Absolutely.
In terms of,
that's the simplest fucking movie ever. Like, this lady needs to get away from this robot.
Scary thing, come to kill you. Run away from scary thing. Oh no, trapped, must kill scary thing.
We did get, by the way, on that episode, we did get some comments from one of our dedicated fans, Eddie, who asking why we never talked about the paradox of Sarah Connor. The father of her child was the one that sent himself back, or the paradox of that. And
because if we started talking about that, we'd be sitting here making fucking diagrams with straws all day long.
Well, yeah, my response was basically, it's just like the Blade Runner question of his decorative replicate. The question is a lot more fun than the answer. And like, what is there to say other than it happened?
Yeah.
Maybe there's multiple universes. Maybe there's just one. Maybe fate exists. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. That's the whole point of the movie, is to leave it up in the air.
And of course, to get away from scary thing.
Oh yeah, that's more the whole point of the 2 movies.
Yeah. So anyway, the creator is a great contrast to this because apparently, given that there was originally a 5-hour cut, they did some subtraction.
They definitely did.
They did not do nearly enough, and they did not do it nearly well enough.
Yeah, they didn't. They needed to not have had it in the first place.
Yeah.
Did they film the whole Cyberdyne thing, or was that like an idea that James had?
That was in the scripts, and when they were first entering production, he was like, this is going to cost a lot, and one of his buddies said, you don't really need that shit. It doesn't do anything for the story.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, great.
Well, I feel like the editing in this movie wasn't that great. I saw some pretty obvious fuck-ups where, like, things changed from cut to cut. Like, you could tell they're using different cuts.
Oh, yeah.
It took me out a couple times. And it looks like they had way too much footage to work with and couldn't keep it all.
Yeah.
keep track of it all.
Yeah, there is some truly mystifying shit going on in like just at points where suddenly somebody does a thing and it comes out of absolutely nowhere, and then we sort of act like they didn't do. We have. I'm talking specifically about when John David Washington has been captured on the hoverboat by Ken Watanabe, and then their base is getting attacked or something, and Ken Watanabe just starts like shooting at John David Washington, who has escaped off screen.
Yeah. And he just jumps in the water and they give up.
They're like, okie doke. And then we see like 2 insert shots of him hanging off the bottom of the boat.
Yeah.
And then 3 scenes later. And I mean, one of the things about this movie is that each and every scene just about in isolation is very cool.
Yeah.
The structure of the movie does not allow that to add up to anything at all, though.
No, it does not. God damn it, I had another point. It's going to have to come back to me, hopefully. Let's actually start recapping it, and we can just point out all these flaws as they happen, if I can remember them.
Okay, so the movie starts.
Oh, sorry, I remember what I was going to say. Another thing that bothered me was the what would you call it? The torturing of our main character. Like they were bringing back characters just so he could have to personally fucking kill them himself.
Yeah,
yeah. And it's like I want him I feel like for a character in a movie, you have to see them get some wins. You have to see them. You can't just see them suffer all the time. And you can say he gets one in the beginning when he's like with his girl, but that's so abruptly ended. So brutally ended.
Yeah.
Like he literally sees her get a nuclear bomb dropped on her. So
yeah.
I don't know. He just like, there needs to be some joy. And he kind of has a few like smirky moments with the kid, but he doesn't really ever get anything.
I think you're right, and the movie did manage to slightly overcome that by showing, like, it was able to overcome that more than it should have been able to by showing other people's joy and other people living their lives. I'm talking specifically about, all the cool robots hanging out, fucking taking bong rips.
Some fucking how. Yes.
That shit.
Sorry, I couldn't. We'll get there.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. It is kind of torture porn for Denzel Washington's son.
Is that Denzel Washington's son?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess that explains why he looks so much like Denzel Washington.
Yeah.
I loved him, man. Like I didn't want to see him get tortured so much. I thought he was the best part of the movie, honestly.
He's pretty good. I think the fact that he's Denzel's son escapes a lot of people because he has the 3 name thing. Yeah. So in your mind, his last name is David Washington.
That's true. I gotta say, I'm not like as down on the Nepo baby thing in Hollywood as a lot of people. As long as they got chops, which clearly I think he does.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
I really liked him in this.
I liked him more in Tenet, but
I never saw Tenet, but I heard he was good in it.
Okay, so the creator came out September 29, 2023. And it cost $80 million.
Okay.
Which, honestly, it looked... it is a very good example of... It looks like every fucking cent is on the screen. I mean, like, I would not have been shocked had this been a $200 million movie just with as cool as it looks.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And it made worldwide $104 million. So,
made it
not
back.
a success. You generally want to make at least the budget in America.
Oh, yeah.
Because that 80 mil doesn't cost advertising and
advertising. That's the big one.
Yeah. Well, I think the general rule is you double the budget of the movie to include the advertising budget. So
I remember when it came out, because it wasn't long ago, and I was thinking, like, maybe this is one we should, like a new movie we should actually cover.
yeah, we thought about it and then didn't.
I mean, it just, if it had had more hype, maybe we would have been more motivated, but it just kind of fizzled out.
I would have really liked to see this movie in IMAX. Because I'm guessing it's bomb ass in IMAX.
Probably. Yeah.
I probably would have come out of this much happier with the movie had I seen it in IMAX.
Yeah.
I generally try to be pretty fair regardless of format, but something like this, it's going to look very nice in IMAX.
It would.
So, anyway, this movie begins, as do all good movies and public speaking engagements, with a definition. Webster's dictionary defines nirmata. So yeah, just anyway, nirmata is like AIs in this world have religion and they worship their creator, Nirmata, which is also Tibetan for creator. There you go. So, yeah, like all good public speeches, definition.
Hey, it's proven to work.
Then the movie starts pretty fun. We get a cool, like, 1960s style newsreel about how robots are the future and they help us with everything. And, you know, now you can have actual human faces on them and they're really cool dudes. And then came James Cameron's Judgment Day.
Yeah, literally.
Where a nuke, Los Angeles got nuked. The AIs were blamed for it. And then the U.S. started a fun forever war against AIs.
This actually leads me to my first question about the world building in this. Is this like an alternate future where we adopted AI like in the 50s for some, like a Fallout future?
I don't know. I was trying to kind of unpick that and I couldn't.
I didn't like this choice. It was one of the first red flags that hit me because a lot of the future tech is that like low tech kind of like the truck he steals at some point looks like an old truck from the 60s, but it's not an actual, it's just something they built to look like that.
Yeah, that's like a 1970 fucking Dodge.
And it just bothered me. It's like, if you're going to do it. And if not, don't. Like, I don't know. I couldn't quite tell. And also, I mean, we're not there yet, but I'm curious what part of Asia this takes place in. Did I miss where they said a specific country?
New Asia.
Yeah, I got that. But like, what specific part of New Asia? Because it really felt like Vietnam.
It in
the 60s.
It seems to bounce around.
Yeah, they definitely go to like a Tibet.
Yeah,
they're at some point,
and like the opening sequence, and then some of the later stuff. They're clearly in fucking Indonesia. Yeah, it's somewhere in Southeast Asia.
The Asian actors are from all over the place with all kinds of different accents. I didn't like a lot of that. We'll keep going.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, then we cut to 10 years after the nuke thing, and a general is giving a big speech about how we now have this cool thing, Nomad, that's going to hunt the skies and drop fucking tac nukes on all of the AIs, because although the Western world has, banned AIs and robots, New Asia doesn't want to do that. So obviously we need to start a forever war.
Yep. With that famous country of New Asia.
Yes.
All those little countries that classically get along so well with each other.
Yes, they have never had any sectarian strife.
Also, small landmass, Asia.
Yeah.
Definitely doesn't stretch all the way to Africa.
Yeah. Yeah, on the maps we see on screen, it goes from like the oh, there's actually a name for it, but I can't remember where it is. But the Southeast Asian peninsula,
Yeah, I saw that.
up through southern China a little bit, and then over to, like, I don't know, Bangladeshish, something like that.
Bangladeshish.
So yeah, there's a war, and there's a giant low Earth orbit space station that drops nukes on people.
Space station, by the way, I don't think it's been on screen yet, but man, what a gorgeous creation that was.
It is a very cool design. And the U.S. military is hunting Nirmata, the inventor of the AI. So
Which I kept hearing as Armada at first, and I was confused.
Yeah.
Like,
fair.
Is it Spanish too?
Yeah. Fair. So now we're in 2065. We're on a beautiful beach in Indonesia that you have seen in many Instagram influencers' feeds. And suddenly it's night, and Navy SEALs rise out of the water.
Yes. Oh, it should be pointed out, if it's not already clear, this is a very America bad movie.
Yes, very much so. Like, to the point where it's honestly pretty impressive that this came out with as very much America bad as it is.
Yeah. Like, I mean, it's commonly accepted in a lot of circles that America bad, but usually movies aren't allowed to explicitly state it as obviously as this one did.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even...
And
like
certainly not big, fancy-looking movies like this.
Yeah. Like, the bad guys are America. Like,
yeah.
They're not an analog or a metaphor. They are actually America.
No, it's
and the other
exactly
countries don't
America.
exist. They're just New Asia.
Yeah. So we see these Navy SEALs rising out of the water. Classic Navy SEAL shit.
Yeah, I love it.
And it's at this point that we establish Nomad, which is, like we said, it is a big, I don't know, suborbital spaceship thing with cool holographic scanning, cool looking shit.
Imagine you're in a nation at war, and there's just this fucking thing above you constantly scanning the ground that you cannot escape and you cannot destroy. Like,
and might drop death on you at any moment.
Truly, truly terrifying. Like, great world building there. I will not take that away from him.
Yeah, and certainly not a metaphor for drone warfare.
No, not at all. I don't know why you even bring that up.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why either. So then we cut to our main character. Get used to him. His name's Joshua. He's played by John David Washington, and the beautiful Gemma Chan. Going back to Awkwafina, she was in Crazy Rich Asians.
She was,
and Raya the Last Dragon with Awkwafina.
Awkwafina. Is Awkwafina ever going to appear on this podcast? No, she will not. I don't think.
I don't know. I think we could maybe get her. So it's John David Washington, Gemma Chan. Her name is Maya. In bed, she is preggers with his baby. And then there is an alert, and we find out he's a John David Washington is a double amputee. So we get into the cyberware portion.
Yeah, there's definitely cyberware, but you are jumping because this is the moment where they're together and you're like, oh, nice. And then from this point on, you're never going to be able to catch a breath again.
I think that's actually, like, a bunch of that happens in like a bunch of them in bed and stuff happens in flashback. But yes, this is where that character is allowed to be okay.
Allowed to be a human. Yeah.
Yeah. And then suddenly Ken Watanabe shows up. And he is a Japanese actor who has been in tons of stuff, including The Last Samurai, Tokyo Vice. You have 1000% seen his face.
Yeah.
In this, he doesn't have any ears because he is a robot.
He is a robot man. Inception.
Yes.
Godzilla,
Inception.
King of Monsters. Yes, I remember that too.
The first Nolan Batman movie.
His IMDb is insanely long.
Yeah, the dude works, and for good reason. He's fucking great. Yeah. So One thing that I didn't establish in my notes, but I should get out of the way immediately. Okay, there are sort of like two classes of robots. One are robots that just look like robots. They're just like metal dudes.
They look kind of like
do shit.
Kind of like the droids from the Star Wars prequels. In my brain, they're a little different, but
okay, sure. Yeah,
maybe
they got kind of long. They got kind of long heads.
Maybe I'm robot racist, and they all
kind of
like
xenomorph flavored heads.
Yeah, they do. Kind of Johnny Five, actually.
Yeah. And anyway, there's those robots, and then there are simulants, which are robots, but they have the basically a Terminator style skin covering that looks totally realistic when you're not looking at their robot parts.
Yeah. Just their face and neck.
Yeah, face and neck, and I think sometimes their hands and stuff. But you could usually see through the sides of their head, ear to ear, where Steve Martin would put an arrow.
Yeah.
They've got gyroscopes in their skulls or something. I don't know. It's cool looking.
That's where they get repaired and stuff. So I'm guessing important stuff is in that hole.
Mm-hmm. So Ken Watanabe shows up. So it seems like these people are all in trouble because Navy SEALs have arrived. They're being attacked. So they are apparently the New Asia Resistance ? I don't know. And they have captured one of the American soldiers. And it is, what's the guy's name? He's in a band. Sturgill Simpson.
I think he's a solo artist, but yeah.
I think he was in a band, but yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, so they capture this guy, and they're like, okay, we got to go and fight off the rest of the Navy SEALs and run away. And Gemma Chan's upstairs getting dressed, and John David Washington says to this American soldier, who he's obviously going to kill because he's part of the New Asia Resistance, dude, what the fuck? I'm deep undercover here. What are you doing, man? I didn't say we should strike or anything. I mean, how the fuck are you going to blow my cover like this? With his wife in earshot.
Nirmata's not here, man.
Yeah. And his wife is like, well, okay, so this was all a lie. Fuck you.
Yeah, this was all very rushed, and
it really was. And
I feel like you should have at least whispered to the guy.
Yeah, it is. For a guy who is theoretically deeply competent, this is the dumbest thing I have ever seen.
Yeah.
How are you going to show up and attack me when I am undercover with the woman I married and the underground cell that I am infiltrating for you, American military? So he doesn't shoot the guy, and then they have a fun little exchange about how he can bring her with him and save her, because Nomad is coming overhead, but she doesn't want to. She says, what about them? And he's like, they're not real, they're fucking robots, let's get out of here. But she and the other robots take off in boats and into the forest, and then they are nuked.
Yeah, pretty obvious. No escaping. It wasn't a death scene. I know there's a rule, or if you don't see them die, they're probably not dead. And my brain said that to me as it was happening, but also they looked pretty fucking dead, and I don't know how they didn't.
On the other hand,
ever bother to explain it.
Yeah, every time we see Nomad blow something up, it's like mushroom clouds.
Yeah,
I mean, I think the way that they survived is that some of them were robots that were able to get refurbished or get their memory chips pulled out and stuck in a new body.
In other robots. I suppose, but it was a big bomb.
Oh, it was. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to argue the logic of it, but I think if you were to ask somebody, that would probably be the explanation.
I just feel like it's not fair.
Just remember
it's
this
not
for
fair to give them give them credit, because they overdid it with the bomb. There was no logical leap I can make that anybody could survive that explosion. Anyway,
That's totally fair. So anyway, then we're 5 years later. John David Washington wakes up in a shitty apartment. He gets an MRI / lie detector about does he remember anything? Doesn't matter.
Like perhaps the location of the launch codes?
Yeah, exactly. They're very good at asking people questions in this movie.
Yeah.
And then he goes to work cleaning up Ground Zero in Los Angeles. And he's working with a girl who I've seen in something else. And they're in like spacesuits because this is like the irradiated zone.
Yeah.
And they're cleaning shit up, and there's fucking mummified corpses, and they accidentally wake up a robot while they're cleaning shit up.
Because remember, AI used to exist in LA before the bomb.
And it's like freaking out, like, what happened? Where's Janie? Where's Janie? And then they put it down, and the girl who's with him is freaked.
And this, they also, Sheet earlier had like been like repeating propaganda clearly about how these AI aren't real, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you can tell America's been indoctrinated to see that these aren't.
Yeah. And she says basically like, that was exactly like a person. That was just like a person. Why is it like so much like a person? He's like, it's just programming. Shut up. Then she disappears.
Which becomes like it's just programming, you can tell, is like the excuse we use.
Yeah.
Which is, I like that as a excuse for genocide, basically, is what it is.
Yeah, it is. And I think this scene encapsulates part of the problems of the movie, where other than that line, like, this scene is very cool. Like, okay, a couple of people in spacesuits cleaning up an irradiated fucking nuked LA. A robot wakes up in a panic.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a very cool scene, so I can totally see why it would be hard to cut.
Right.
On the other hand, this scene doesn't do anything. Like, it could... and so much of this movie is like that. There is so much that I can totally see why the director and editors and producers were like, oh, fuck, we can't cut that. It's beautiful. Or, that's a really good scene, but it doesn't tie to the rest of the movie enough to justify its existence in this movie.
I do think this scene does do a little bit of work. I think it both shows the indoctrination of the American people by her like repeating the propaganda at the beginning, and shows that these robots are capable of fear and love and loss and everything.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But I think that could have all been shown elsewhere.
You can integrate that into something else.
Yeah, it didn't
pretty
need this
easily.
Scene.
Or you turn this into a 6 episode fucking miniseries,
and you get a whole episode where he's doing his job. Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
And you learn about the world. Absolutely.
Yeah, so this scene is one of a couple that I like highlighted as weirdly useless. Although I totally see why they had trouble. I mean, like, how are you going to cut that? It's fucking awesome. I mean,
yeah, it's a cool. It's some of the best world building it does is just showing you Los Angeles, which really this is the only time you see Los Angeles in the whole movie.
Yeah, we see a little bit at the end, but not much.
You hear about the bomb, like this is the big impetus for the start of the war. Yeah. And that's this looming thing over the movie, but you only really get to see it here. So I guess they had to show it. But you're right, they could have worked it into. He could have driven to it on his way to the MRI or something. I don't know. There's
they could have done something different. Like our job isn't to fix things.
Yeah,
it's to point out the flaws.
Yeah, you suck.
We are the nitpicking
filmmakers.
We are the nitpicking hatchet men here.
Yes, #nitpicking hatchet men.
So then we cut to his apartment, and he's swimming, and then maybe the weirdest, and I say this fully understanding his career, the weirdest appearance of Ralph Ineson in any movie. Ralph Ineson plays the General Taylor, and he has been in a bunch of shit, including Game of Thrones. He has been in a ton of shit. He's actually, secret, next week we got somebody from Denorf that's going to be on our show. He's from Leeds in Yorkshire.
Oh, yeah.
He's been in tons and tons of British shows and movies and stuff.
The Vitch, that's what I remember from the dad.
He was the dad in the Vitch.
Yeah.
So, General Taylor and Colonel Howe, who is played by Allison Janney.
That's the character I hated.
Yes, she is the worst.
I mean, I didn't hate her. I hated Allison Janney in this role. I did not believe it seemed fake. I just hated. It wasn't that I hated the character. I was supposed to hate the character. I hated the performance.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have the Allison Janney love that a lot of people have. I'm pretty neutral on the topic. But this, I did not buy it. I did not buy her as like a military leader. She just seemed like a mom trying to act tough to me, and I just wasn't in.
Yeah. Okay. I thought she was pretty good. My first thought when you say that is like, oh yeah, that song, that story she tells about like her, her son got cut.
Yeah, I hated that.
That rang very false to me, and I read it as intentional. That was supposed to be, that the audience is supposed to get that this is bullshit nonsense.
I was out when they were all standing around the pool, and she goes, Neanderthals get a bad rap. It's like, what the fuck? Who's talking about fucking Neanderthals? Just that's a movie thing people do, and I did not like it.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. It worked for me, but if it didn't work for you, who am I to fucking judge?
Yeah.
Because that is a dumb fucking movie thing.
It is. It's like, here's a non sequitur that I'm going to tie back to your point, and okay, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I read that as she just has this fucking speech queued up for like almost any situation.
Yeah, she uses it a lot.
It's like somebody who is trying to be charming, and you can tell they carry around a like 1970s book of like icebreaker jokes in their back pockets.
Right. Yeah.
Like they might pull out like a Polak submarine joke at any moment.
Door, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, they got to get him back in the service because there's this new super weapon called AO, and it's going to blow up Nomad. And he is like, well, sorry for your loss. But they need him because he knows the layout of the lab that the super weapon is in. And they say, hey, by the way, I know you don't want to do this, but check this out, and show him a hologram of his wife and Ken Watanabe walking around in the jungle, and say, like, this is from 3 days ago. Your wife's alive. We will capture her and bring her back for you. Which, on the one hand, you can read as like, oh, they're going to reunite him with his wife. On the other hand, slavery?
Yeah. She's definitely not going to like you very much. There's that too.
Yeah.
Like,
but he's
personally, were I in his position, I would be like happy that she's alive, and then would want to help her, not take her from whatever she's doing and put her in an American prisoner of war camp.
Yeah. Yeah. My first reaction would be, fuck you, pigs.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but that's too.
Got to get him over there somehow.
Yeah, got to get him there somehow. So then we're going to do he's going to war. He's in a fucking dropship, and rather than Wagner's Red of the Valkyries, we're dropping everything in its right place.
Yeah. Was I correct in that one of the guys in the ship like hit play on a?
Yeah.
And I have a lot of complaints about this movie. I've known some soldiers in my life. Nobody's going and playing Radiohead or whatever the fuck it was. No soldier I've ever known would do that. It's got to be Man-O-War or fucking Disturbed or something. Come on.
Yeah, Disturbed, Pantera.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like and this is another problem with the movie. Like this scene, and all this whole insertion thing where they're playing everything in its right place and they're flying over fucking rice paddies, and like you see fucking robots working the field and like looking up at this drop ship going over. It's beautiful. And it, like, with everything in its right place as the score over it, you're like, man, this is amazing. It does not belong in a movie at all. Like, this is a trailer right here.
Yeah.
This 2-minute sequence or whatever is a beautiful trailer for this movie, say,
Right.
or another movie. But you can't put it in a movie because it doesn't fucking make sense. Like,
Yeah, it felt really out of place.
yeah, it's
That song should have been like they could have cut. Once again, we're not here to fix it, but like they should have shown like him thinking about his wife while this sad song plays, not a bunch of badass Marines about to drive into battle listening to the saddest fucking song you've ever heard in your life. It was so out of place and weird.
Yeah, it is really wild watching the scene from, you know, the dropship scene from fucking Aliens, set to, I don't know, what's everything in its right place from the 1960s. I don't know, fucking California Dreamin'.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
It's truly
Stairway
like,
to Heaven.
Yeah, it's, on the one hand, you're like, wow, this is like, this works, but it only works on its own. It can't work in a wider context.
In the context, it doesn't work, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, they do a Vietnam movie at this point. They decide to do a Vietnam movie where
and it is.
They get dropped into rice paddies. They show up in a village, threaten to shoot a fucking dog. And then they go out.
And these people are from Vietnam in the 60s.
Yeah. And they then they go down into the VC tunnels. And the red-haired bearded soldier guy who he's pops up here and then he'll go through most of the rest of the movie. That guy's name is Mark Mancheka. He's a really good actor. He's also Lena Headey's husband.
Oh, nice.
So I'm jealous.
See,
anyway,
I saw him and I thought I saw what they were trying to do with the role. He's like, every war movie has one guy that gets everybody into trouble, and he looked perfect for it. And I know he's a good actor, but they just didn't give him enough time. He just never had time to become the bad guy that they want him to be. They just instantly he's putting a gun to a dog's head. That's not how you do it.
And it is honestly hilarious. They're pulling it. It pulls out all the classic Vietnam movie fucking things.
Yeah,
like it's
like in all the Vietnam, you've still got to establish that these guys are brothers, and so he's got to have a reason to defend this asshole, right?
Yeah,
that's what makes it compelling. But I would shoot the fucking guy. Fuck him. He's threatening to kill a kid's dog. I don't know.
So they go down into the VC tunnels. They kill everybody, just like fucking dudes in clean suits.
Yeah.
They do a lot of executing of people.
Americans are bad.
Absolutely no pause. They do some like there's a really fun bit where part of a lab is closed off through a clear door, and the person behind the door is screaming at them for, you know, killing all the other scientists and stuff. And the person inside the lab, there's a really funny bit where it automatically translates what they're saying in, I don't know, Vietnamese or something.
Yeah.
And the translation is, please make love to yourself and also make love to your mother.
Yeah.
So everybody has a hilarious laugh. And then how do we get through this door? I don't know. It's facial recognition. So, well, I guess that means all we need is a face, and a guy cuts a face off of a person.
Yeah, because they're bad.
Yeah.
You think the director and creators of this movie have ever been to Vietnam?
I believe actually Gareth Edwards lives in and has lived in Vietnam. I think Vietnam for many years.
It just felt so tropey. It felt like somebody had watched a lot of Vietnam movies, but hadn't. I don't know. Everything felt so tropey.
I think, let's see. Yeah, he did. He did Rogue One, the Star Wars movie.
He was born in Nuneaton, Warwickshire.
Whoo!
Fancy lad.
Yeah, a very fancy lad. Yeah, he if I remember right, he has lived in Southeast Asia for a long time, or did for a substantial amount of time. He was a special effects guy before he was a director.
Oh, he's good at special effects.
Yeah, his first movie called Monsters, I think, which was 2010-ish, had Scoot McNairy, who I would have loved to have seen in this movie.
Yeah, we love us some Scoot.
Yeah, and it's actually it's a really pretty great movie because it cost no money, and it's established. The whole thing is Scoot McNairy is this photojournalist or something, and every year since recent history, kaiju do a huge migration and start killing everybody in Central America. And Scoot McNairy is down there to document this, and he gets hired by a rich girl's dad to save her and bring her home. And they're dodging kaiju the whole time.
Fun.
And it's a really good example of, it's a really good version of how you can get away with making a really cool looking movie with very little if you shoot smart,
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he didn't succeed nearly as great with this, but it does look cool. So,
and we still have 3 hours of movie to recap.
Yes. They eventually, so the local cops show up, and the soldiers immediately start killing the local cops. John David Washington is left in a room with a giant vault door, and is told, "Don't go in there without me." The vault door opens. He goes in there and finds a kid watching TV. It's a cute kid.
Yeah, watching Speed Racer or something.
Yeah, watching some anime with a fucking teddy bear. And then he gets shot by a scientist.
Immediate Akira vibes, by the way.
Yeah. Gets shot by a scientist, and the scientist tells the kid to, run away. The kid is also a simulant. It's got the hole through its head.
Yeah.
The scientists tell the kid to run away and find Nirmata, and it exits, it climbs this big ladder and goes out into the world, and it enters the world for seemingly the first time. And it's beautiful and also hollow. There's war going on in the background, and it's beautifully shot of this kid's face. What the fuck is going on with this world? It's,
no shame. The kid isn't the best actor in the world either.
I think the kid's okay. I mean, I don't know. I have fairly low standard for kid actors,
but I don't know. Maybe I'm being too hard on her, but
yeah. So
anyway, one thing I liked is I don't know who, one of the soldiers had this weird Walker robot suit.
Yes,
with missiles on its back. I liked that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, she was pretty cool. It's this weird. It's it honestly looks like a fucking bobcat.
Yeah, it does.
It's like a mill grade bobcat.
Never really used it, which is unfortunate.
She did.
I mean, she hid behind it and launched missiles off its back.
Yeah,
but she didn't I don't know. It looks like it's meant to get up there and mix it up.
Yeah, I assume that's probably a bunch of the shit that was cut.
Yeah,
who knows?
Probably.
So anyway, all the army guys are going to go to take off because Nomad's going to fire because they set up a beacon and they can't stop it. And I don't know. It's confusing. That part is never entirely clear.
Well, the guy that set up the beacon got killed.
Yeah, but why did they set up a beacon? I mean, it's not like Nomad didn't know where they were because they went there.
Yeah, I mean, don't shut the fuck up.
Exactly. Exactly. So they take off.
And Allison Janney's like, I'm going to go stop that beacon or something. And if I'm not back in 3 minutes, 3 mics, take off without me. She said mics, she definitely had said that before.
Certainly. But anyway, all the army guys get blown up in their dropship as they're trying to escape.
This is where they introduced the weird rocket launcher that just sticks a rocket to your back that explodes later. Useful weapon of war.
Which is a deeply funny thing in this movie. But
Twice.
What? It gets used 3 times.
3 on this one? Okay.
Yeah, it is very funny. Not necessarily a weapon that I would consider useful.
No. Unless you just really think the element of surprise is important.
Like, certainly not as a frontline thing.
Yeah.
Like, you might have that back in a pickup truck at the back in case you had very specific applications.
It's a weapon that exists only to impress an audience watching the weapon be used in a movie.
Yeah, and make us chuckle.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, that's the soldier from the Bobcat. She's running back to the dropship, and she gets shot by one of the local robot cops, and just limps her way into the dropship, and is like, "Oh my god, I can't believe I fucking made it!" And I'm like, "Woo!" And then she turns around, you see this fucking beeping thing on the back of her vest, and it's like beep 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 beep. And she's like, "Oh my god, is it on me?" And then the whole thing blows up.
They should have just thrown her out. I don't know why they didn't.
Yeah, you'd think that would be the move, but whatever.
Yep.
So anyway, it's the next morning. John David Washington slept in a boat.
Yeah, that's another terrible cut. Like,
Yeah.
he's like walking through a field at night, and then it just cuts to him
in a
getting
boat.
out of a boat. There was no bodies of water around. It was weird.
Yeah. And he finds the kid, tries to scare her away. He's like, "Get the fuck out of here." Then he finds the guy who cut the face off of the scientist in the lab.
And like, this is a good guy I need to save.
Yeah. I just refer to, I believe his name in the movie is Shipley. I just exclusively refer to him as Face Cutter.
Good. I mean, tells you exactly who it is.
Yeah.
It's Robbie Tan is the actor's name.
Oh, okay. I believe it. So then we get some more cool looking shit where there are these giant like floating ag robots. I don't know, seeding or fertilizing or some shit, and like some robots working in the fields and stuff. It's really neat looking. John David Washington goes into a hut. The kid turns on the TV with its mind. Don't worry about it. That's not going to be important.
Definitely not.
Then the phone rings. It is, and I noted this on my second watch through, it is the phone in the hut, not a radio. The phone rings, which the first thing we see a simulant out in the field, like, what the fuck? I'm getting a phone call? Turn around. And it turns out that Allison Janney is on this phone. And she talks to John David Washington. She's like, "You got to kill the kid. If you can't extract, you got to come to me. Oh, by the way, and now the cops are here to arrest me." So she gets arrested.
How did she know? You know what?
Don't worry.
A lot of inconsistencies.
Yeah, there are. Then the robot from the field shows up, and it's a simulant guy, and he is immediately shocked when he sees the kid and says, "It's a miracle. They've made a child. Don't worry, I'll kill the American." Apparently unaware that the American has a piece of equipment that's translating this live to everybody. Then there's a shooting, and John David Washington does get hurt. Then some cop robots show up, and there's another hilarious bit where a dog fetches a live grenade.
So funny.
And then blows up the cops, and they wander around with blown off heads.
And then they're sure to show the dog in the next scene. They'd be like, the dog got out okay.
The dog's okay.
But all these robots got their heads blown up.
Again, it's neat looking.
Yeah, sure.
But it's... and then they drive off in a fucking 68 Dodge quad cab with the Cybertruck package on the interior.
Yeah.
And then we go back to Allison Janney has been arrested by these cops, and Mark Mancheka, the red-haired guy, has also been arrested. And we meet this cop.
Sorry to interrupt, but in a well-made movie, Mark Mancheka's character would have been my favorite in the movie.
Could have been easily.
He just never got the development he needed.
He gets about 5 lines in the entire film. So they got picked up by the cops, and there is a cop in this armored vehicle with them, and he will keep recurring even though he dies almost immediately. kind of looks like a Sikh dude.
Yeah, he's got multiple. He's clearly had his likeness sold. His name is Amar Chadha Patel.
Yeah, and I'm certain I've
Very
seen him.
Striking dude.
Yeah, he is a very handsome man.
Yeah. He's in Willow, The Wheel of Time. Nothing.
Oh, yes, he was. Okay, yeah, the
Sex
Willow
Education.
series.
He was in Sex Education.
Yes, okay, he was Thraxus in Willow. Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah,
I've seen him in a bunch of stuff.
You see his face once, you don't forget it.
Yeah.
I'm glad they actually put him in multiple roles. Like, I wanted to see more of him.
Yeah, he's a fucking striking dude, and he's a simulant. And they kill him and steal the truck, and then there's a fun line about miss my turn because the truck has a big wreck, and everybody has a laugh.
Yeah, he rolls down the window to tell this to someone who doesn't speak his language. It made a lot of sense and didn't take me out of the movie at all. It's like they were trying to inject jokes just because they knew how fucking bleak their story was. They all felt out of place.
So, it really does. There's a ton of that. Although there is one funny bit that I actually laughed at that we'll come to in a while. Then John David Washington and the kid, their truck breaks down. And Shipley, the face cutter guy, died. So they catch a ride. They catch a ride into the city with a nice family in a van that he off screen takes hostage.
Yeah.
So they
do that off screen because if they did it on screen, it would make him look like a real piece of shit.
Yeah. It's very, I don't know. It's
because it literally is a dad and like 5 kids.
Yeah. And it's clear later that like he had the gun to the dad's head the entire time.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they abandon their truck and go to the city with these people. Then Allison Janney and Mark Mancheka show up and find the truck and Shipley. And then it comes the next, like the second upsetting part of the movie, where the first one was the robot waking up in the irradiated zone and panicking because it didn't know where its person was.
Are you talking about when Allison Janney casts a classic Raise Dead spell?
Exactly. She does a tech Raise Dead on the face cutter guy.
See the Dungeons & Dragons movie if you don't know what we're talking about.
Dungeons & Dragons, Honor Among Thieves. You get 5 questions. Does this count as one of the questions? Yes. So they resurrect this guy for 30 seconds, and this is like a compelling...
Speak with Dead, not Raise Dead, sorry.
Yeah, that's right.
And the nerds would yell at me.
Yeah. And this is a really compelling scene. And it's like, again, it's very good.
Well, because they gave it to the good actor. The guy who played the simulant was a better actor than the guy who played the American soldier. And so they gave like the work to him and he did a better job, I think.
So, they plug Shipley's personality into the dead simulant cop. And they get 30 seconds with him and... they get almost no content out of him at all, other than my wife. I want to talk to my wife. Am I fucking dead? What the fuck is happening?
Yeah, it's too dark, really.
It's a really good scene in a context that isn't this fucking movie.
Yeah.
And honestly, that happens like every time the resurrection shit happens in this movie. Like, you're like, I want to see this movie. What the fuck? Like, you could build a movie out of this easy.
Yeah.
But
sometimes I feel like this movie's just really laying on the bleak shit, like aggressively thick.
Yeah, and it's also just fucking throwing ideas at a wall to see what sticks.
They could have dragged his body behind the van. They didn't have to lay him next to his own fucking corpse, you know?
Yeah. Anyway, that's a very good scene. They get almost no information other than they're going to the city. And the kid is still alive. So
the kid that they all refer to as the weapon, by the way.
Yes, the weapon. And after this, they have... Apparently, there's probably a bunch of shit cut out in here because it seems like the drive to the city is a very long time. And a bunch of conversations or something take place where the kid is now going to be called Alfie.
Yep.
Short for Alpha Omega, which is on its head. Although the kid does want to be called Candy,
I feel like you should have honored that request. I think that's a good name for a kid.
Yeah, Candy's already taken. Fuck that. It turns out they're on a wanted list going into the city. The kid manages to magic power out of a city block.
Yeah.
Which definitely isn't going to come back again. Because they can just turn off the power to whatever, whenever. So they're going to the city. They have some heartwarming conversations, I guess, where neither of them are going to heaven because the kid isn't a person.
I hated that scene more than any other scene. Maybe.
David Washington is a bad person. So
hated it.
Yeah. It's heartwarming.
Heart cringing.
Yeah, it is. So they end up in the city, and they meet with John David Washington's friend Drew, who is the American soldier, who he was like, "Hey, don't blow my cover with my wife, who is upstairs."
Yeah, this
might
is
know
Sturgill
I'm
Simpson,
undercover.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. Who I thought was dead.
Yeah. But he wasn't. So he now provides security for a robot factory, or runs a robot factory, unclear. And he has a smoking hot robot girlfriend.
Yeah, with only half a head, like all the others.
Yeah. But she is very hot.
She looks probably the most cyberpunk of anything in this movie.
She really does.
Yeah, she's got the look.
Yeah, she really does. She is very fucking cyberpunk. And he has hooked up. John David Washington came here to hook up with this guy, partially because he's somebody he knows in the area, and partially because this is a guy who gave him a tracking ring that he gave to his wife, and she was wearing it in the video that we saw earlier.
Yeah,
so this is crammed in here and doesn't make
it
any
is
fucking
so
sense.
fucking shoehorned in. Like suddenly he has a flashback of
hugely.
this stuff, and then he's like, "Remember that ring?" Oh, I hated that part too.
Yeah, it's so awkward. It's impressive.
Not to mention, why would she still fucking wear the wedding ring of the guy that, like, even if I don't know, I don't know, why would she keep that ring on when the guy betrayed her like that?
Yeah, it's fucking ludicrous. But anyway, here's the funny bit that I actually liked in this movie. The smoking hot girlfriend is talking to Alfie, the robot kid, and says like, "Oh, okay, I'll watch you while they do their guy stuff. What do you want, sweetie?" And the kid goes, "The robots to be free."
Oh, I hated that so much.
And she says, "Oh, we don't have that in the fridge. How about ice cream?"
I hate this kid. I'm sorry.
I thought it was very funny.
I mean, yeah, the line, the rebuttal was funny, but the fact that the kid said it,
is deeply stupid.
deeply stupid. But everything that the girlfriend, like the whole scene, the girl interacting with the kid, the girlfriend was cool and was eliminated.
Brutally
and early.
Yeah, it really was.
They just can't give this guy a companion. Like anybody that comes in this guy's orbit has to get brutally killed, possibly by his own hand, and he can't have a friend other than the fucking kid.
Yeah. So we get a tech breakdown from Drew about the kid. It's the most advanced stimulant ever, and will be able to control any technology from anywhere in the world once it matures.
Yeah, it's Robot Jesus.
Yeah, it is. And then, as per usual with this film, we see some more just like cuts of like people and robots going about their days. And this part is where we see a robot funeral. And again, it is super fucking cool looking, but it has no goddamn place.
Yeah. I actually kind of hate how human they made the robots. I realized that they had to so that we would like feel empathy for them. But I feel like imagine you're in a time before globalization and they were trying to humanize someone from another culture by saying, "Look, they eat cheeseburgers just like us." That's what it feels like to me. Like, why can't the robots have their own customs that just don't mimic humans?
Well, as far as I know, none of the robots eat cheeseburgers. They do, however, rip fucking bongs.
Although within minutes it is established that they do not need to breathe.
Yes.
They are given lungs so they can take massive bong rips. God damn it,
Yes.
this movie's dumb.
It is.
I had to text you with that. I watched that. I'm like, what the fuck am I watching?
It rules. So anyway, both Alice and Janney and the cops arrive and blow up the fucking hot girlfriend.
Aggressively
and we meet
putting bomb in her ice cream.
Yeah,
actually, that wasn't Alice and Janney. That was what's his name?
That was the local cops.
Yeah.
And again, the Sikh looking cop played by the same guy. Yeah. And then Alice and Janney shows up and shoots all the cops after John David Washington and the kid have escaped. So yeah, R.I.P. hot girlfriend. And
R.I.P. Amar Chadha Patel. Last we see him
again. Well. Yeah. Yeah, and then the good guys go to the location of the tracker ring that we established is like such an important plot point and we'd never heard of before 2 minutes ago. So they go to the location of the tracker ring, which weirdly turns out to be the beach house where they were fucking blown up at the beginning of the movie. It's a weird coincidence, like that she'd go back there, but whatever.
Yeah, this film also felt like this might just be my own brain, but this felt like a Blade Runner 2049 rip off, getting him out of the city to like this weird blasted country setting. But
I think that's probably that. Yeah, that feels about right. So it turns out that like, they find the ring in the house. It's all fucked up, and of course, and then Drew tells him like, no, you don't understand. Like, we learned the night right before the raid that Nirmata wasn't her dad. She's Nirmata. So, like, that was why we did the fucking raid.
Oops, time to die.
Oops, time to be shot from an aircraft. So, like, this aircraft rips by, shoots him, and then, like, takes another 10 minutes circling or something before troops show up. Anyway, John David Washington and the kid hug because very sad. I don't know, I guess. And then they're captured by...
not even captured, they kind of give up.
Yeah, they kind of give up / are captured by Ken Watanabe.
Yeah.
Okay, so John David Washington gets knocked out. He wakes up in an
Can I
iron
just
cell.
point out, I am sorry. So excessive. Like, you had him at gunpoint, put handcuffs on him, and why you got to hit him with a fucking gun and give him a concussion? Like,
yeah.
I hated this. There's a lot of little things I hate, and I know that's a movie trope too. Let's stop hitting people in the head for no fucking reason.
Yeah. That seems like a good idea. But anyway, so he wakes up in an iron cell. Keep this in mind because it's going to be completely irrelevant in like 3 minutes. In a fucking wicked Jabba's fucking sail barge coated cool hover boat thing that like Ken Watanabe cruises around in. I mean, it's fucking wicked looking.
Yeah.
And then he has a conversation with Ken Watanabe where he's like, Watanabe is like, hey, you know that nuking LA was a human coding error? AI would never attack mankind. Do you know what happened to the West? What will happen to the West when we win this war? Nothing. We just want to live in peace. So they're the nicest people in the world.
Yeah, I hate it.
It's too heavy-handed.
Too heavy-handed. Like, to make the impetus of this whole fucking thing be an error. Like,
yeah,
I understand it could happen, but it's just it doesn't sit right with me.
So then the kid comes to visit John David Washington in his cell. They have a short conversation about how, like, oh, you're, you know, I loved your mom. And then suddenly they're on the deck. And suddenly the Rebels base is blown up by the Death Star. I mean, the Nomad. And John David Washington gets shot at and because he's out of his cell now and dives overboard. And then they go to a cool waterside city.
This happens so fast. Like
it's fucking zipped.
1 minute he's in a cage. The next minute he's hanging on to the underside of the boat. Like Ken Watanabe didn't even, he like fired 3 random bullets into the water. I'm like, well, guess he's down there forever. Let's not even wait 2 minutes to see if he surfaces. Let's just go.
Not only is he in a fucking jail cell, he also doesn't have his arm and leg on.
Right.
It's just like, okay, and then we skipped 4 days of sailing around where, I don't know, whatever. So anyway, they go to a really cool waterside city. And John David Washington is like sneaking around because he supposedly is dead or something. Ken Watanabe has a conversation that John David Washington overhears about how the kid is the only thing that can defeat Nomad. And in the circumstances, since the kid isn't mature yet, we'll have to sacrifice it by getting it to Nomad to shut the whole thing down and blow it up. And we're like, oh shit, that's sad. Ken Watanabe is obviously very tore up about this. And then there's a night where it's a really cool life with fucking robots smoking dope and playing cards and just hanging out.
Yeah.
And like watching robot porn, which fucking ruled.
They're like trying to make it feel like a Star Wars bar scene, and
yeah,
it didn't work for me. They're robots. Why do they need to smoke? I'm sorry.
Again, I think it works all on its own, but like when you like every one of these scenes is cool, but when you throw them with all these other scenes, it does not hang together at all. I mean, it's fucking wild. So anyway, then there's an attack.
Like why is this base smoke come out of his robot face? It's not one.
Yeah,
it's not one of the simulants. It's an actual robot, and smoke like comes out of its face.
Yeah, it rules.
I don't. Where does it go?
into his THC receptors.
Okay, now we're talking. All I needed was the science. Thank you.
Yeah,
now I'm on board.
Yeah, you can't deny that.
It makes sense they give robot THC receptors.
Yeah, obviously. So, slamming shots of Everclear, for the methanol receptors.
Yeah.
So, then the next morning there's an attack. Why is there an attack? I don't. Who cares? We don't.
Big ass tanks, which are pretty cool looking, but
the big ass, like the whole attack thing is again cool.
It feels like a video game, honestly. This is where they set up and they introduce these bomb robots that run at you, right?
Yeah.
Which seems to me for them to be effective, they have to be put in this exact situation.
Pretty much.
Only this situation where you have a long stretch of running.
There's a robot that looks like a trash can with arms and legs. And it has a big readout on the front. And the guy running the robots says, okay, 1 minute. And
this is something they could have done throughout the whole movie to add humor by making American robots really stupid. Since they're saying Americans don't use AI, so have all the American robots be dumb. They could have done that throughout the whole movie, and it would have injected the humor they were looking for and made sense.
But actually, the interesting thing about this is that even these robots still have some personality, because we see 2 or 3 get deployed. And the first one is like, as it's being sent off, is kind of dicking around and being like, it's been an honor to serve under you and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, get the fuck out of here. Go. You're going to blow up.
The whole purpose is to explode.
And then like the other bomb robots don't do that.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. So there's...
No, I liked this. I mean, other than the fact that the whole setup for it is absolutely ridiculous.
It's deeply stupid.
The idea of smart robots is cool. I liked it.
Yeah. And also in this sequence, a monkey blows up a giant hover tank.
Oh, God, I forgot about that. That was so fucking dumb.
This robot throws like a fucking remote triggered mine onto the hover tank and then gets shot, and its pet monkey like picks up the fucking trigger and is like looking at the tank, and you're looking at the monkey and he's looking at the tank, and then it's like bang. And this gigantic, like the hover tank is the size of 2 city blocks.
Yeah.
It's fucking ridiculous. We see some more of the very cool looking, also useless holographic targeting shit that they're doing, where they like, throw these big fucking light displays on these people who are running away, and then fucking missiles shoot up in the air and blow them up and shit. It's all cool looking, useless but cool looking.
Yeah, I don't even know why I guess they're looking for the kid here, but
yeah, who the fuck knows? So then the kid runs out and stops one of the robotic bombs. It like bows to her.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh shit, this kid is, magic again. Then Mark Mancheka shows up, shoots the kid, and John David Washington shoots him. And then they're all gonna evacuate to where Nirmata is. And that's like the city's gone, and I don't know. This was again cool sequences, but not. It didn't mean anything.
Yeah, it really gave us nothing.
So then we go to a fucking Tibetan Buddhist temple, which is full of robots. The temple is extremely cool looking. I mean, it's a fucking cyber temple, for God's sake.
Absolutely.
And in this cyber temple is Nirmata, Maya, who is in a coma and has been since the attack. And we also have there's also a conversation about how Alfie is the last thing that Maya made before the attack. She did it in secret, and it is in fact based on a scan of the unborn child of her and John David Washington.
Which was obviously going to happen the minute a child was introduced into this story.
And it would have been a million times better had it not.
Yeah. Had he would have just come to love a child that wasn't his own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, just realizing that they lied to him that Maya was still alive.
Yeah.
But they also coincidentally were correct.
Yes.
Okay.
So, we see a shitload of like robot Buddhist monks. They're all wearing saffron robes and stuff. And like robots petting kitties and things like that.
It's a pretty quick drive from Vietnam to Tibet, right?
Yeah. It's definitely not,
It's like they're right next to each other in New Asia.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
New Asia is the size of Belgium, right?
They got like some Autobahn shit going on.
Okay.
I mean, you can just rip across it.
All right. Also, the space in between Vietnam and Tibet, famously, big fans of Tibet.
Yes. Yes, 1,000%. Huge fans.
Definitely going to let you through.
Yeah. Famously, all those countries have very, very good relations with one another.
You can see how somebody might have problems thinking like, oh, so all of Asia is just how cool. Just every water under the bridge.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, AI solved all the problems.
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely.
So we meet Maya there in the coma. She's been there since the attacks, and John David Washington's like, well, why haven't you let her die? She's on life support here for 5 years. She won't come back. And the monk is like, well, we can't. She's Nirmata. We can't harm her.
Okay,
so,
this is one of two big fucking problems I have with this movie.
All right,
you can probably pick out what number 2 is because it's basically the same exact scene that they're going to do again in 10 minutes.
Go off.
I just hate it. Like they kept her alive because they couldn't harm. It doesn't make any sense.
No, they have the laws of robotics. They aren't allowed to harm anybody. Like, they definitely weren't shooting guns.
This is not a precedent that has been established anywhere. Right. Yeah, they've been murdering people the whole fucking movie. At no point anywhere has this law ever been established. And all of a sudden, they have to keep her alive specifically so that you can kill the thing you love most in life.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. So anyway, he pulls the plug.
He does it.
At the request of mostly Alfie, but also the monks.
But he takes a brain chip because somewhere in the middle of this, it was established that death is inconsequential because we can just take your consciousness with us on the road.
Somehow. Yes. And oh shit, Nomad is here. And again, another really like another really sweet looking sequence, like the first fucking attack ships swinging over and they're like ringing bells and fucking robots in saffron robes. It's all so cool looking. Why isn't there a good movie? Why isn't there a good movie here?
What's her name? Allison Janney comes in.
Yeah.
Gets another one of those delayed bombs shot at her for no reason other than.
Yeah, Allison Janney is like, "Fuck you, traitor! I'm gonna fucking whip your ass!" And then Ken Watanabe like peeks out from around a corner and fires a delay bomb at her right as he gets shot.
And then the kid is like using her power to stop it.
Yeah,
but all her soldiers are like, "Fuck you, kid!" And she's like, "No,
and
wait!"
They shoot her.
And then,
and remember how the kid got shot 2 scenes ago? Forget about it.
Yeah,
that never comes back up.
Somebody had a really high fix skill.
Yeah,
took care of it.
But anyway, Watanabe comes back to life and is like, "I gotta kill you. You guys gotta take care of Nomad. I'm gonna lead the resistance here or something."
Remember that thing we're not allowed to go do? I'm gonna go do a shit ton of it.
I'm gonna do a bunch of it. So JDW and Alfie get taken by the Americans, and one of the Americans is like, "You're a hero, man."
I also there's a lot of old robots here, and I didn't love that the simulants were aging. It just seemed weird. Like, why wouldn't they just get new skin after a while?
Good question. I don't know. Character.
Sure.
Apparently, one of the things that I thought was interesting about this movie was in like all these scenes that have basically robot and human extras in the background. When they were shooting them, the director didn't give anybody directions on be a robot.
Oh, so they're just being human.
They're just being, they're like the background people at a funeral or whatever.
Because if I was an extra told to be a robot, I'd start doing the robot.
Yeah, obviously.
Do.
So then after the fact, they went in and like digitally stuck a hole in their head.
Yeah, I figured there's a lot of that. They're all probably wearing like green headpieces or something.
Yeah. So anyway, they go back to LA. Hey, Ralph Ineson is back. You forgot about him, didn't you? He's weird looking.
I did, and at this point, I feel like the movie's pretty much over.
Yeah, except there's another 45 minutes of it. So it turns out that the military can't kill Alfie easily.
Oh boy!
Because Alfie keeps shutting down the things they're going to kill him with. So they want John David Washington to do it. Because otherwise it's going to be extremely painful, because the United States military is obviously a very caring organization that gives a shit about causing pain to super weapons.
Just shoot him with 1,000 fucking bullets. Shoot her with 1,000 fucking bullets.
Yeah.
Put a grenade in her dress and walk away. There's a billion ways you could kill this thing. You didn't have to come back here at all.
Yeah. So for plot reasons, they're like, okay, John David
a little more.
Yeah, John David Washington, go in there and shoot it with this EMP gun.
Remember how you just killed the thing you love most in the world, but you still have the thing you love second most in the world? Now you got to kill that too.
And he whispers in her ear, and we don't see this on screen right now, but he's like, "I'm just going to put you in standby mode." And we've established earlier that apparently all fucking simulants have like a switch on their neck.
Yeah, that's just common robot knowledge. All robot has a switch on the back of its head that you can either turn it off or put it in standby. So
instead of blowing its brains out with this EMP, he switches it to standby and then acts all sad. Then we see some news clips about how all the AI bases are going to be attacked and eliminated. I don't know why they didn't do that beforehand.
Seems like if they had the power to do that, they should have done the power.
Why not? But he gets it turns out that Alfie's going to be incinerated at the LA County incinerator? Question mark.
Yes.
So JDW is like, "Hey, I want to ride for the funeral," and Ralph Ineson's like, "It's not a funeral." And
it is for me.
Anything's a funeral if you're bummed enough.
Yeah.
And this guy's pretty fucking bummed.
I've thrown out some old computers that I feel like I could have said a few words over.
Yeah. So then they do a jailbreak. And hijack a lunar flight from LAX and go to Nomad.
They just walk on in. TSA really sleeping on the job, letting that very obvious AI robot kid through.
Well, it hacked. It hacked, and they can't do anything because the computers told. I don't know, man. So
This all happens a million miles an hour, by the way.
It really does. This last act of this movie should be 2 hours long easily.
Yeah. Strangely, it's not. It's rushed, but it feels like 2 hours still.
It weirdly kind of does, yeah. So they dock at they force the ship to dock at the Nomad thing. All the passengers except for JDW and Alfie get off.
They're all gonna die.
They're
fucking dead.
No, they're fine. Don't worry about it. So they all get off, and then Nomad sends Strike Force in to capture JDW and Alfie. And then John David Washington vents the aircraft into space.
Mm-hmm.
And another really cool visual, these soldiers whipping out over the planet.
This concept is cool. This suborbital space station that's kind of in space, but not you still have gravity, but yet it's in space conditions. The Earth is huge beneath you, but still feel I like visuals, and all the concept is great.
There are no visuals in this movie that I have a problem with.
I had a couple. I don't think I brought them up.
It is just the concept of how the visuals are brought into the movie.
Early on, when he's in the pool swimming and he goes and puts his arm on, it looks really awkward and badly CGI. If you ever go back and watch it again.
Okay. I don't know if I will.
He's cradling it weirdly. But that's such a nitpicky bullshit.
Yeah. So anyway, the Nomad starts launching these missiles at the AIs. Ralph Ineson screaming about, you gotta kill him, whatever. And then they start evacuating the fucking ship. And John David Washington's crawling around on the outside, and he's putting a bomb on one of the fucking nuclear missiles.
So real quick, do you think there's a chance that what's his name, the general, whose name he just said,
General Taylor,
when he sees him for the first time from in the pool, he has glowing blue eyes. And then the whole time he's got this weird voice modulator thing. Maybe that's his natural voice, but it sounded like he's had a weird voice.
He naturally has a real sonorous voice.
I almost felt like they were trying to indicate that he was in secret AI or something.
And he is doing a weird American accent.
Yeah.
Like I said, this is I have seen Ralph Ineson in a ton of shit, and he is weirdly unrecognizable in this movie.
Did you clock the blue eyes though from in the pool?
I didn't, but if so, I probably would have just clocked it as a reflection of pool, nighttime pool water on his glasses.
At first, I thought he was an AI when they were introducing him, but then I don't know.
Sure,
maybe
why not?
Who knows? Some could have got cut.
That could have been a cut subplot. Who the fuck knows? Yeah, so, and then the kid's going to go to the control room and shut all the shit down. And so the kid runs through this whole space station. All the space station looks real cool. It's like the space station in Elysium. Yeah. There's these big fucking gardens that just run through, and then goes to a control room and does this little praying thing.
Put a pin in those gardens.
Yeah, they definitely won't come back. It's certainly not it's not metaphorically interesting.
Yeah.
So,
kid's pulling full Obi-Wan looking for the power shutdown.
Yes, exactly. So the missiles are firing at fucking bases. Let's see. The station's being evacuated. You see people getting on fucking escape pods and shit. Then Alfie succeeds in shutting shit down. John David Washington's put a bomb on one of the missiles. So once the bomb goes off with a 10-minute timer, the missile's going to blow up and the whole fucking thing's going to fall down in the sky. It's going to be great. But then he's running out of air in his spacesuit, and there are definitely no places where you could find air for a spacesuit in this space
station.
So then Alfie runs into the AI research section for some reason and finds another Gemma Chan bot.
What the fuck? That looks just like my mom.
And then drags the Gemma Chan bot to the garden area.
Better waste 20 minutes dragging this across a cornfield.
And then Alfie gets to an escape pod, and John David Washington gets some air because the kid triggers the airlock, and then suddenly Dr. Octopus attacks.
Yeah, that was
on orders from General Taylor. He's like, hey, kill him or something, and then all the shit happens, and John David Washington trapped on the station, the kids in the escape pod, and he sends the escape pod off, and then the space station starts blowing up. Then the escape pod goes off
forever.
Then 25 minutes later, John David Washington wanders into the garden section and finds
First of all, there's like 400 nukes on this space station. Keep that in mind. One of them goes off, and it starts a chain reaction of other nukes going off. Fine.
And also, these nukes are in a circle.
Yeah.
Like the entire... It's not like there's an ammo battery. It's like the entire station.
And then
it's covered in nukes.
And then he has a 20-minute goodbye with the kid where he's like, you're going to heaven, and I'll see you there because I'm good now because of you. And I hated everything about that, and I wanted them both to get nuked.
I was trying to gloss over that part.
I know, but it's really the fucking climax of the movie. And then after that, like, it shows them talking, and then like immediately cuts to him in the field. Like, it doesn't show him getting there. Like, he was struggling to fucking breathe 2 seconds ago, and now
it shows them talking. Then we get a fun sequence where most of the missiles crash.
Yeah,
on Earth, like the missiles they had already launched. They just like smash into shit. Definitely not spraying fucking radioactive waste everywhere.
No, maybe it's a metaphor for America's unexploded ordnance all over Southeast Asia.
Sure, definitely. Wait, no, that couldn't be it.
That didn't happen. That's not a real thing.
Yeah,
I just made that up.
Yeah, actually, when did Kissinger die? Probably a couple of months after this movie. Anyway, so we cut back to the garden section. He's just like wandering around with his fucking dick out while this space station has been exploding around him for 45 minutes. And suddenly the Gemma Chan bot is there, and there's a tearful reunion, and she's like, Joshua, because apparently Alfie stuck her personality in the... I don't know. We missed that part.
He put the thumb drive in the back of her head. He did.
Yeah.
Or she did. I keep getting the kid's gender swap because it looks like a little boy because her head shaped.
Yeah. So then the whole thing blows the fuck up and crashes to the ground, definitely not creating environmental devastation.
Nope.
Over hundreds and hundreds of square miles.
Not to mention the millions of people killed that it falls onto.
Yeah.
Densely populated area.
Yeah. But the escape pod lands right near a giant part of it, and Alfie gets out, and people and robots cheer because United States imperialism is defeated forever, and this will never...
Everyone's doing the happy
be a
Ewok
problem
dance.
again. And
Yub Yub plays.
Yeah, fucking Yub Nub plays, and there we are. The movie's over.
Fucking Yub Nub.
It is exactly Yub Nub. I mean, if you aren't annoyingly into fucking Star Wars, it might not be immediately obvious that the Ewoks are analogous to the Viet Cong. They are. That is what George Lucas was intending.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just had Yub Nub again.
Let's do the Yub Nub again. All right, so
that's the movie. Yeah.
Oh shit, we're at 90 minutes from the second recording. That's not good.
Oh, God damn it.
Did it as fast as we could. Like, you really rushed that second half because we had to.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, this movie has tons of shit in it, and sort of none of it matters.
None of it matters, man. God.
I mean, it's... that's the difference between like the Terminator and like
they could have. There's a movie. This movie could have existed on a much smaller scale.
Oh, easily.
It could have still, with the war going on around them, but it didn't have to involve the entire war. It could have just been, people being affected by it.
It's like I've said about Southland Tales, a movie that we definitely will cover.
Yeah.
There is a good movie in there somewhere. Unfortunately, there are also like 4 bad movies fighting for precedence on top of it.
Yeah. What do we think about the story of Creator? I'm moving right into the rating system now. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the story they are attempting to tell, which is really a couple stories? the pretty standard Blade Runner, what does it mean to be alive story. There's the Star Wars imperialism bad story. There's
there's Apocalypse Now,
Vietnam War movie. None of them particularly great to me. I'm gonna give it a 5.
I will give it a 3.
You're right. My 5 is too high.
They bolted, like, there's a bunch of good stuff there, but it's all bolted together terribly.
I'm going to change my 5 to a 3.5.
Sure.
Because you're right. 5 was way too high. I came in too hot. Influences, I'm just going to put an X. It's impossible. The movie came out 6 months ago. Not that I think it will have any, but it's...
Hopefully it'll inspire the next generation of really good, like, special effects guys.
Yeah, that would be nice. Hopefully somebody learned from that, because it is beautiful in that regard.
Honestly, it is a really good object lesson in how, you can have incredible looking stuff and, like, really good individual scenes, but if you don't have a structure that melds them together adequately,
what's the point?
It fucking sucks.
Yeah.
I mean,
you might as well make a short at that point, or a bunch of little shorts.
Yeah. I mean, it's an object lesson in how sometimes brevity is really the fucking soul of wit.
Yeah. We could learn a thing.
Don't worry. Shut up. Shut up. We'll kill you.
Prescience. I don't think their prescience rating is very high. Like, the AI threat that we're facing, and it is a very real threat, is not like I don't see our AI ever getting to the point where they're as real as humans. I see our AI getting to the point where they're dumb, like the trash can robot bombs.
Oh, those guys. Those guys I feel bad about those guys. Just fucking Gronk robots.
Yeah, I just want to take one home, take all the explosives out, and just, let him run around in the backyard.
He seemed to have so much fun running.
Yeah, he loves running, man.
It was a really excited run.
I know. They were the best characters in this movie. So prescience, American imperialism going strong as ever.
Yeah, that's true. We have to give it some points for predicting the continuation of American imperialism.
4.5?
5?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
There. 4.5 and 5. Style.
Okay, this is going to undoubtedly be my most possibly controversial rating on this. I mean, I think I honestly have to give this thing a style of fucking like 9.5, because that is the only thing it's got going for it, and everything looks so cool.
I think if style was a technical category, I would agree with you. I think technically everything looks really beautiful. I think the designs of the robots are pretty cool, but I don't think there's a goddamn thing that's stylish about this movie. I hate the style of this movie because it's like stuck in this weird alternate future where things are like trying to be low tech, but they're not actually willing to commit to that, like Fallout.
What about Sturgill Simpson's sexy robot girlfriend? I
mean, I love her.
She's got style.
I love that weird line across her eyes.
Yeah.
It looks very cyberpunk and cool. But I just, none of it doesn't cohese together. I hate all of the Asian tropes they just go with, like the Vietnam War movie stuff. Like, I hated it. I'm gonna give it a 3.
Okay, fair.
And all of that is technical. But sometimes we disagree on things.
Yeah, we do. We're allowed.
Hand raisers, 1 to 5. What do you think?
This is a tough one because, like I said, I think last week or maybe the week before, I usually partially use this as how cyberpunk is the movie.
Yeah,
and this movie's pretty cyberpunk.
It's hard to deny. I mean, it's not like you're used to with like corporations, but there's definitely high tech, low life. There's definitely like powerful people oppressing. Like, it's very cyberpunk.
Yeah, but at the same time, the movie fucking stinks.
It stinks.
It stinks. Yes, I'm pulling out my Jay Sherman card. Buy my book. I can't see. I also feel like if I give this thing too high a hand raisers rating, that means people will go out and see it. And I kind of think people should. I'm going to give it 2. Fuck, I can't. Like, it's an unsquarable circle.
Yeah. I
Like,
I wouldn't say that it's not worth your time. Just
Yeah,
because it's pretty, man. It's pretty to look at.
But it's not worth serious consideration.
No.
Which unlike some of the movies that we've watched and some of the stuff we will watch, like some of those movies are clearly not worth your serious consideration, and they're aware of it. Like, I don't think anybody involved in Cherry 2000 thought they were doing anything other than making a fun little movie that'll make a little money and, like, yes, have some explosions and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
But this movie feels like
it was trying to
got pretensions of being more. And honestly, if it was a fucking 6 or 8 hour miniseries,
it might have been.
It could have been more.
Yeah, it might have been. I'm giving it a 1.5. I just can't bring myself to give it a 2. And I was looking back, what else have I given 1.5? Free Jack.
Oh God, that's sad.
Aeon Flux, the film. Burst City, I gave a 1.5. My first watch.
I think you were too harsh on that.
I was
but okay.
too, but I did not like watching Burst City by myself.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it a lot watching it with you and Jeff, but
yeah,
sitting in my living room trying to watch Japanese men screaming at me was not an enjoyable experience.
I mean, fair. Look, we've all, everybody needs a hobby.
Yeah.
And that one's not yours, but it is mine.
But I think 1.5 is pretty fair.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I'd say that's probably fair.
That's it. That's The Creator. A valiant attempt. Lots of things going for it. Just couldn't come together.
Yeah, it's a real disappointment in that it seems like there's so much potential in this.
Well, yeah, a lot of these cyberpunk misses are that way. There's very few that we watch that are like just stinkers from beginning to end. Most of them are big dreams that miss the mark.
Yeah.
Next week, we're going to be doing a fun movie that Josh has been waiting a long time for. And we've got a guest booked.
Yes.
So it should be a fun one. And we are going to... Actually, I'll let you introduce it.
Next week, we're doing another film from the fucking red hot year of 1995, directed by Rachel Talalay. This film is called Tank Girl. It is based on the classic comic book by Alan Martin and Jamie Hewlett, starring Lori Petty, our very favorite person, Ice-T.
Oh, yeah, he's up there.
A little bit of early Naomi Watts, like this might be her first movie. And, of course, somebody we've seen on this podcast before and will see again, Malcolm McDowell.
Nice.
If you want to see Lori Petty wearing a bra, driving a tank around the desert.
And Ice-T is a kangaroo.
And Ice-T is a fucking super soldier engineered from kangaroo DNA. This is the movie for you. I highly recommend watching it. It is currently on, I think, Amazon Prime, definitely like Tubi and a couple of the other free services. This movie is, to my recollection, not very good, but an absolute fucking banger, just in terms of how fucking fun it is.
I've never seen it and don't have any nostalgia attached to it, so I'm very curious what my opinion of it's going to be. I'm excited to watch this one.
It occupies a very similar space in my mind to Hackers,
right?
Where it is, I mean, you can look at it and go, yeah, it's not a great movie. But on the other hand, it is a fun time to watch. And I think our guest is going to definitely help. I don't think we'll name drop our guest yet, just because
I'd never like to back ourselves into a corner like that because shit happens.
Yeah.
So
anyway, go watch Tank Girl. It's we're gonna have a good fucking time.
All right, that'll be next week, and then I guess that does it. You guys, you can check us out on Twitter /X at Johnny60seconds and on Bluesky. Look for High Tech Low Life. We also have personal accounts on both of those. Email is hightechlowlifepodcast@gmail.com. And we have a Patreon where for a few dollars you can hear some extra bullshit, which we actually are kind of owing a new episode.
Yeah, we need to jump on that immediately, honestly.
Yeah, that is patreon.com/hightechlowlife. Look for something new there soon.
Yes.
And until next week, go for it, Josh.
What do you want, sweetie?
That's your line. I'm trying to remember what it was. Oh, freedom of all robots?
For robots to be free.
For robots to be free.
Oh, we don't have that in the fridge. How about ice cream?
Good night.
Bye!
This has been the High Tech Low Life Podcast. Find us on Twitter at Johnny60seconds, email us at hightechlowlifepodcast@gmail.com, and find us on Patreon at patreon.com/hightechlowlife. Theme music by Nihilor at nihilor.com. Thank you for listening.
Keep it moving. Come on, what are you waiting on? Let's go.
They're trashing our rights, man! They're trashing the fluid data! They're trashing! Everybody, hide the planet! Hide the planet!
Shut up and get in the car.